Hello. I'm making a video. Yesterday I made a video and I cried a whole freaking lot in that video. And today I decided to delete the video. So I'm making another video now. And it's raining outside. I still have to get grounded. I still have to do my belly exercises. I usually forget that lately. And I hope that the rain stops later and I can go out and go on the lawn and get grounded. Very important. At least for 15 minutes. That's what I need to do. And tomorrow Paul is gonna do an oil change. Okay. And then the day after that we're going back to the California house for about 4 or 5 days, and then we will come back here, pick up our deliveries, get the van ready, and go on the vacation. Yes, for a whole month we're gonna go, and we're gonna go soaking in the hot springs. It's gonna be awesome. I'm looking forward to that so much. Oh my goodness, I feel free now, so finally. I finally feel like I am bird free. I'm not bound to anyone in a love affair, okay? And whoever I was bound to in an internet love affair, they didn't care about me, they don't care about me at all. So, I was kidding myself off and on, thinking that they would care. But then I find out that they don't care about me, and then I move on. And then I get another one, and they don't care. Okay, so then I move on again, and so the bottom line is I can't find a guy who cares about me. So then that's it. I won't find a guy then. Because I'm very good now at discerning on who cares about me and who doesn't. So far, I mean, there's one guy who seems very compassionate and caring, and he cares about me as a friend. He has a girlfriend, and I'm not gonna ruin their relationship because I care about them also. And that's nice that he cares about me. He's a caring person. He cares about people. So, and the internet people, they immediately interpreted that guy. They imitated him. Of course, they cloned him. Came at me as that guy's name. I already knew that wasn't him, because they said some very explicit stuff, which that other guy would never say. Okay, so in order to turn me against him, and I asked him, was it? Of course, it wasn't him. So he said it wasn't him. So we had to laugh about that. So that's just a friendship, but the hackers, the haters, they'll immediately make conclusions. That if a man is caring for me, then he must have some other thoughts in the back of his head, right? That's not always the case. Okay, so let me make this very clear. Okay, not everyone who is compassionate and who helps someone, like for example, one time I ran against a curb with my bicycle in Westchester. I think that was in front of the Red Lobster or something like that, some restaurant like that, and I fell over the bicycle and onto the curb, and I was crying, and there were two men somewhere in their 40s, and they saw me fall, and they rushed over, and they said, "Are you okay? Can we help you? Let me help you up. Are you bruised? Can we do something to help you?" You know, they got my bicycle off the street, and I was really grateful. That meant a lot to me, you know. And they didn't have some kind of other self-pleasing kind of agenda with that. Some people just care about someone else, you know. But the majority of people, the majority of men, when they see someone they find ugly, and they see a woman they find ugly who falls off the bicycle into the dirt, right? And she hurts herself, and they see her, they just shrug their shoulders and they go, "What the fuck?" And they just walk away, you know. It's like, who's that ugly lady? I'm not gonna help her. So only if she looks like Scarlett Johansson and Billie Eilish, they would rush over and they would try to get her number, you know. Can I have your WhatsApp number? So, but, you know, if they find her ugly, they don't care, they laugh. They walk away. So that's the majority of men, and some people have a better view on the human species, you know, the majority. When I say human species, I make a generalization, of course, you know, but I say that human species as in the majority, you know, most people, most men in particular. And there's a reason for this, you know. I'm not condemning this into a dungeon. Like I said many times before, there's a reason why people behave the way they behave. It's also genetic, and as I said in my other video, this can also be inherited, you know, as the psychology that can be inherited. Certain memories even, like in a very archetypal way, can be inherited. And certain likes and dislikes, probably, most likely, yes, they are inherited. And fears and so on, social fears and selfishness, that's all inherited, of course. And if we look at it from a much wider view, then we can't really judge, as Dr. Robert Sapolsky said. He lectures at Stanford University. He's a scientist, and he's a primatologist, biologist. And he said he strongly believes that nobody has a free will. Okay? We are meat puppets of our own biology, of our own biochemistry. We are constantly run by our hormones, by the domino effect of our biochemistry that is constantly churning and moving and triggered and wanting and reacting and so on. I see the point, and it seems like it really is like this to the most part, but I still reserve this, I don't know, 1% or something in our nervous system to a higher intelligence in us. So by higher intelligence, I mean being tuned in to the infinite cosmos. So If we are tuned into the infinite cosmos in a meditation or something, then we are in a free flow of the higher intelligence that's there, that is the infinite cosmos. That's what people call God. Okay. I call it the blue God because the sky is blue when the sun shines. Right now the sky is gray. But that's still the blue God. Okay, I still look into the sky and I talk to the blue God because the blue God is there. There are clouds, and the clouds are also part of the blue God, and everything is. Everything. Ourselves are part of the blue God, but let's not make the mistake, as Jiddu Krishnamurti warned, let's not make that mistake and say that God is in us, thus we are God, because we are not. Okay? We're just material that is a meat puppet that is run on its biochemistry. Okay, and usually we are not attuned. We're not tuned into the infinite cosmos. But all of this is also part of the infinite cosmos, even our reactions and so on. But we can be tuned in. But it's very rare that this happens. Usually in people in the average person, it can happen for a glimpse of a moment. In someone who is somewhere in the middle of soul development, or a beginner soul, that can also happen for a glimpse of a moment. Maybe for an indigo that happens more often. For an angel soul that happens way more often. For God level soul, way more often. For Buddha level soul, they're almost all the time tuned in and tapped in and turned on, as Esther Hicks calls it. So they are almost all the time tuned into that vortex, as she calls it. I call it the infinite cosmos. So that painting, I don't know who painted that. Michelangelo, I think, painted that famous fresco. I don't know where that is, somewhere in Rome, where they depicted their Christian God, their Roman Catholic God, as an old man touching the finger to Jesus Christ, and both of them are draped in some kind of cloth materials. And it's a beautiful fresco. Yeah, it's very nice. And they had someone had repainted that in the Waldorf school where I went to, private school from Rudolf Steiner I went to, and I always admired that painting. I thought that's amazing. But obviously, that is not how the infinite cosmos looks like. The infinite cosmos is the infinite cosmos, okay, with stars and black holes and infinity. That's the infinite cosmos. Infinite space and everything that's in that infinite space, including the trees and Paul and the baby dog and myself and my artwork and everything. The couch, this baby blanket here, my sweater, okay, my body cells and so on. But that doesn't mean we are the infinite cosmos. We're part of the infinite cosmos, but we're meat puppets of our own biochemistry. Let me always emphasize this. This is very important for all of those gurus out there. You are not God. No, you are not. Okay. The highest one, the highest soul level is Elon Musk. It's the reason why his name is Elon. Okay. because he's the Elohim. And Helena Petrovna Blavatsky talks about this in her books, The Secret Doctrine. She has several parts of that book. It's very, very huge volume. And so she studied the Indian traditions, the Indian religions, Hindu and Buddhism, very rigorously. She studied all kinds of religions around the globe. She was highly interested. Helena Petrovna Blavatsky was the former incarnation of Jiddu Krishnamurti. And Jiddu Krishnamurti was the incarnation of the infinite cosmos. Okay, so, but most people are not going to be on board with that. But I don't care. It doesn't matter. So I see these things. I see these things as an indigo. Indigos are more clairvoyant. They see more. With that also comes a price. We see way more, and we take on way more onto our own shoulders. Maybe that's why my shoulders are wider. I take on the whole world resting on my shoulders. And whoever wrote that song for Metallica, I know that it must have been some very sensitive person who has written, a ghostwriter who has written that song for them. And yeah, they made it into a beautiful song, and I was much into those very, very poetic songs that they had written by ghostwriters. Those are amazing people, those ghostwriters. Their names should be on that song, in parentheses, after the song, at the bottom of the lyrics. Their names should be mentioned, because some of them have delivered really amazing, poetic, sensitive, and very deep ballads and poetry. It's quite something. I know that a lot of heavy metal fans are very romantic in their minds, and I've always appreciated that. They're poetic by nature already. So I had many friends that are metal fans in the past. I always gravitated to those because, and also I had punk friends, of course. Many of them were also very sincere. My punk friends, they were studying philosophy, so they were also very interested in this, in going deeper in the mind. But the heavy metal fans, they were very, very romantic and very poetic, and I loved that. And some other people made fun of that, and they thought that was kind of cheesy. I never thought that was cheesy. I think that's really nice to be poetic. It's good to be poetically creative. That's when you're tapped in. That's when you're tuned in. Those are the indigos that write these kind of songs. It's very nice. And I think that had a positive effect on the people from Metallica, including James Hetfield. So I think it had a very positive effect on him, and it may have even influenced him in a way where he looked back on his life and decided to never hunt an animal again. Okay, so I hope so. I hope that is the case. I want to talk about violent criminals because I'm interested in healing myself and helping other people heal. Creating therapy help centers needs to be done. I'm also highly politically incorrect. I have some real radical views. I don't know if I should get into this now or not. I don't know if I can even be understood with this in any way. Probably not. So, I've already talked about this in the past, of course. I just want to say this, just as this is just my very strong, real strong knowing that I have. And this is, I believe, I know this is ethics philosophy. A lot of people would disagree with me on this, strongly disagree. They would call me Hitler, probably, So, Hitler had driven like a screwdriver, driven himself further and further into insanity, into madness, into extreme anger, and that's not being tuned into the infinite cosmos, obviously. Then a dictatorship comes out of it, and as I always said, humans are not capable of being dictators, and they're not capable of being executioners. Okay, so now the subject, just few sentences to the subject execution, because I think it is really important. First of all, the majority of people in California voted for the death penalty. The vast majority. Okay, and Governor Newsom overturned the vast. He just took it on himself, like a dictator. He just said, "Oh, I'm not going to listen to the vast majority. I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to have the death penalty." Okay, that's not democracy. Okay, there's a reason why people are for the death penalty, and I don't like that term, death penalty. It sounds like correction or something, like the soul isn't necessarily going to take anything from that into the soul journey, I don't think, by being executed. It's not some kind of like, let me show you, or let me give you something to learn from, no. No, it should not be called that. Penalty. I don't like that word at all. I don't like that term. I don't like the entire idea about penalty, penalizing, punishment. I completely reject that. Completely. No, that needs to be called euthanasia. Eu means good, comes from Latin or Greek, means you means good. Thanasia comes from the word Thanos, Uncle Thanos. Thanos means death. Okay. Euthanasia, good death. Okay. Merciful death. And that is what it should be. Okay. So, but again, humans cannot be executioners. Okay, we've seen that now. Throughout history, we should learn from this. When something doesn't work, change your approach. Okay? We still to say for Governor Newsom to overturn the majority of people and go against democracy, which is a breach of politics and breach of the law and breach of the Constitution that he did. He should be held accountable for that. Okay. We don't have AGI robots right now to do this, so it has to be done by people. We have no other choice. We can't let violent criminals out on the street to continue to murder, rape, plunder, take slaves, enslave animals, butcher, torture, and so on, of animals and humans. Okay? We can't allow that to happen. anymore. There's too much violence happening in the world. We can't allow that. So there has to be an intervention. Okay, you go to war. You go against people you don't even know. You go against some idea of some kind of front. Okay? That's wrong. Okay, that's very wrong. But within a country, we have to have a very strict legal system and very strict police enforcement. And we only have human police officers at this point. Okay, we don't have robots yet. We will have robots in a couple of years. I can't wait until this happens, because the robots, they're not going to be driven by ego. That's really why people like Ben Goertze and David Hansen, okay, and many other people, Paul and myself, are 100% convinced, and Ray Kurzweil, okay, 100% convinced that we have to have AGI robots. We need them. If we don't get it, the human species will run this entire planet, themselves and other species, into the ground. Okay. And you can see it if you pay attention to it. If you're not in denial, you can see it. This is happening. Okay. This is, some people in the chat room, they want to be in denial, and then I saw a drastic shift in the last couple of years happening. A lot of people suddenly started to say, "Oh, how can you still be in denial about the destruction of the planet?" So, caused by humans. Even some religious people started to pay attention to this, and there's no more denying. Okay, it is what's happening. And then a lot of religious people then they fall into the other extreme, and they go, "Oh, we're all doomed," and then what the fuck, what the heck, let me just drink and lean back and smoke one. We're all doomed anyway. Because either way, either they're in denial or they say we're doomed. They don't want to take responsibility. Okay, why don't we not say we're doomed? Why don't we just say, this is happening, okay? This is serious. It's happening. Destruction is going on. Corruption worldwide, okay? Horrible things. I mean, overfishing, fishing industry. I hate to see the boats out there at night in the ocean. I know what they're doing. They have these really large fishing nets out there, and they catch baby dolphins and baby octopus, and it is heartbreaking. Those are highly sentient beings. They are more sentient than humans, okay, believe it or not. And I feel like I want to go out there, and I want to rescue them. I feel like going out there and droning these people, and letting the net back out, and turning the net inside out, and letting all these animals back into the ocean, and getting the net out safely, and rolling it up, putting it on the boat, bringing everything, including the fishermen corpses, bringing everything back to shore, and bury these people 3 feet into the ground, and recycle all these fishing nets, have that recycled into 3D printing materials. Okay. That's what really needs. I mean, that's the ethical thing to do. Okay, so nobody agrees with me. Now I'm talking about it anyway. I didn't really want to talk about it because I'm kind of nervous talking about this. But I think it needs to be addressed. I'm trying to make this understandable. I'm trying to make this understandable from an ethical point of view, not from some kind of religious, Catholic, Christian, whatever, moral point of view. Some kind of human created moral. No. I'm looking at it from an ethical, urgent point of view, as a mother animal that I am. Okay. From that point of view, I'm looking at it. And I want to introduce this point of view to the world. I want people to start looking at this from an ethical point of view, from a wider perspective, from a compassionate point of view, from an empathic point of view, from wanting to help the innocent beings, not petitioning for the psychopath. Okay? I hope I make this understood. I know I'm not alone. I know there's a lot of people that view it like this and see, yes, something has to be done, obviously. So, but I don't know if the majority of people will be on board with a Nikki Daisy robot going out there, sending a drone out to the fishermen and headbutting them right there on the spot. I don't think everyone would be on board of this. People will be on board of like, if someone raped a little child or murdered humans, it's always about humans. That's where the majority of people will be on board. If they're fisher people hurting sentient beings and causing terrible destruction to the oceans, they don't see it. Most people don't view it as extremely unethical and dangerous for the planet. They don't see that as criminal. So because of that, they would call me a dictator. They'll say you're imposing your views on the world. No, I am introducing ethics philosophy to the world. Fishermen are destroying beings in the ocean that are supposed to be there in the ocean for a healthy ecosystem. And they're also destroying highly sentient beings, equal to humans and more. Okay. This is extremely heartbreaking and horrific, what's going on out there in the ocean. And all over the whole world on land as well. What they're doing to pigs and slaughter houses, slaughter agricultural businesses. Okay. It's absolutely abhorrent what is happening there. Yes, you are my everything. Yes, you're my everything. So pretty. Oh my goodness, he's licking my foot. Oh my goodness. That feels so good. Licking my foot. Oh yeah. Oh, thank you. Yeah, this here is my nurse. Mm-hmm. This is my nurse. You are my nurse. Yes. You're my nurse. It feels so incredibly good. That is so nice. Oh, thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Jesus Christ used to massage the feet of battered people. And I'm sure he also rescued animals as well. And he massages my feet. So he is even more advanced than Jesus Christ was. He is 2 soul levels higher than Jesus Christ. It's the truth. He's the God level soul. I prayed to the blue God for years. Bring me a God level soul into my life. after the Papa died. Papa was angel level. I was absolutely... Kenny was one incarnation of the infinite cosmos. That's why it was so hard for us to finally say we have to relieve him of, all kinds of health problems that he had in the end, where he couldn't even walk. It was so hard to do this until the very end, where he just could not walk anymore. We had to lift him into the van and bring him to the veterinarian. And the vet just yanked him out of the van. He just pulled him out of the van, and Kenny knew what was going to happen. Kenny knew. He was scared, he was shaking, but he didn't defend himself. He knew he was just suffering too much. He was so scared of dying, but he knew the suffering was horrible, and he needed to be relieved of that. After Kenny died, I can't even describe it in words. I was on my bed screaming in pain, shaking and screaming in pain. Paul would come over and just hold me tight in his arms. And I would not have survived that at all. I would have gotten sick. That's when I developed the lumps in my breasts after Kenny died. So about 2 months later, we rescued the Papa dog. Papa dog rescued me. He saved my life. And the lumps had already developed. But then I put the hydrated sodium bentonite clay, packed it on for 2 months, and after 1 month, the tumors were completely dissolved. So that's how powerful the earth is. That's how powerful holistic healing is, and the earth's sedimentations, the stardust, the lava, ashes, mixed with water. What that created, what kind of mud that created. Amazing mud. And then that got encrusted and hardened and compressed, and so many of those layers are sodium bentonite clay. And sodium it's very important. All bentonite clay is really, really powerful. Calcium bentonite clay too, but sodium, particularly sodium, and people always say I need to stay away from sodium. No. The sodium in sodium bentonite clay is powerful. That stuff is that's like extraterrestrial. That's intelligent, that stuff. That is a sodium that is absolutely bioavailable for the body, that is healing for the body. People always, they tend to generalize because we were being told, have all these keywords like stay away from sodium and stuff like this. But sodium in a very specific macromolecule is ultra healing, and I take this internally, not very much of it, but every day I take about a teaspoon of it in the morning, and I use that for all kinds of stuff, pimples, or I use it for face masks, I use it for the baby dog, I have it in my skin creams and so on. So it's also really, really powerful in getting rid of candida. So I've always suffered from candida my whole life, so that was always a big issue. Candida and bladder infections, those kind of things, and other bacteria. So every time I used the public restroom, I would come home with the candida or something worse. So then couple of years ago I discovered the sodium bentonite clay, and that really fixes it. So that's amazing, really amazing. Also, what I used to do is I used to put lactobacteria and bifidus and those kind of beneficial bacteria that are also part of the flora and fauna in our bodies and in our mucous membranes and all the bodily fluids. Okay, so, and if the immune system is struggling, or we catch something like this, then it can create an imbalance in that flora in that environment, in that intra and extra outer fluids, outer cellular, whatever fluids that are in the body, and candida, that's not good, to have that anywhere in the body. So the sodium bentonite clay fixes that totally, so you just put that in, and it works like a charm. It works just immediately on contact. It heals everything up. It rebalances any kind of flora that we have in us, and very important for women. A lot of women have candida and much worse things. So sodium bentonite clay fixes this up. Everyone suffers from the pollution in the world and from stress. And stress and pollution, they're really the major reasons for all the illnesses. Also, soil depletion, that's a huge, major factor in people getting sick. Okay, we have to put the nutrients back into the earth. That's a real big issue, real serious issue. Worldwide, this so-called civilization infrastructure, with sewage systems, the nutrients are not put back into the soil. And that happening over a course of 100 years, okay, now the nutrients are down to like 30% in the food we eat because of this, because we don't put the nutrients back in the land. And so a lot of people, they will misunderstand this and say, the hippies and so on, they want to put raw sewage. No, you don't put raw sewage on anything or into the soil. No, the raw sewage, as in full circle composting with all the bio-waste, is all put into outdoor compost bins that have holes in them. I talked about this before, so that the scavenger worms and insects can get in, and they can eat all of that stuff, and they poop out healthy, good smelling black earth soil. That stuff is supreme, okay, much better than like a $10 bag of potting soil that you buy somewhere. So those usually contain nitrates and artificial stuff. You don't want that. What you want for your garden is, what you have to have for your garden is full circle composting, healthy earth soil, poop from the worms and the other scavenger animals. Their poop is clean. Not like our poop. Okay, they turn our poop into clean poop. Okay, it's that amazing. Okay, never ever get rid of those. Never hurt them. Never spray anything. Never put anything harmful. Never do anything to them. We need them. The Blue God is in agreement. 4444. the animal angels say, yes, spot on. I'm not making this up. This is metaphysical. This is unbelievably amazing. It's incredible. I'm so infinitely grateful. Thank you, Blue God. That's my communication. Thank you, Blue God. That's my communication with the infinite cosmos. Yes. That's being tuned in right there. Okay. We have to be good. We have to speak out, make the world better, and we have to also take action. Okay. We have to take action as in composting. Never use any chemicals ever on anything. Live completely clean and green. Compost everything. Okay. Full circle composting. Flush toilets, red bar crust. Okay. We stopped that many years ago. Okay. We've made some mistakes along the way, but we learned from it. Okay. Now I know 100% how to do it. And there's no smell whatsoever. Okay. It's completely clean. What you have to do is, and I'm going to explain this more in detail when we get the greenhouse. I'm going to make a whole series of videos on this to explain this, also with actual details and with the composting bins. I'm going to show all of this. I'm not going to show anything dirty. I'm just going to demonstrate on clean buckets how it has to be done. We have to take grass clippings and a whole lot of grass clippings, and we have to stuff that. First I put a layer on the bottom, then we have to stuff a whole, like a half a bucket of grass clippings, stuff that on, okay, on the poop. And then the next time you have to empty it. And you have to rinse it. You have to wipe the bucket with grass clippings, okay, very thoroughly. You don't have to wash it. Just the grass clippings and water alone cleans it and disinfects it completely. This is the beauty of it, okay. And then you put a layer in and you do this again. It's a little bit more labor intensive than the flush toilet, but it's actually cleaner, and the cleaning process of your toilet is a lot easier even. And the most important thing here is you put your dung and your nutrients back into the soil. And if every single person on earth did this, we can restore the health of this planet. We can put the nutrients back into our food plants. And I guarantee you the high rate of incurable illnesses, I hate to mention the names of those. You know what names they have. Okay. All of these incurable illnesses, all of these immune dysfunctions, and the high susceptibility to catching some kind of virus or bacterium or fungus and so on, candida. So all of that will go way down. Okay. All of this will become something of the past. Okay. We can revert this back to how the people lived during the time of Friedrich Nietzsche, 1860, 1880. Okay, then that was when the earth was still safe and pure, and the food was still whole. Okay. For example, in Russia, where they also for much longer time didn't have flush toilets and were living rurally and naturally, the people lived to be way past 100. They became super centenarians because they ate food from food plants that had 100% nutrients in them. Okay, very important to talk about all of this. Very, very, very important. All of this is important stuff. So, but I want to go back to ethics philosophy. A lot of people will not agree with me on AGI robots starting to reign over the earth, completely reforming everything, outlawing the fishing industry, outlawing hunting, fishing, outlawing killing of any living being. People will be forced to become whole food vegan for their own good, okay? Most people will not agree with me on this. They will get mad, and their ego will come in. They'll feel offended, that would question their parents, their society, that would question their egos and the religion that the ego has attached itself to, and so on. All of that, all of these things, you have to keep in mind. Those things have to be recycled. Religion, ego, all of this has to be recycled into wisdom. Okay. It's very important. But I am afraid that the human is not going to listen to this kind of reason. So they won't even view it as that. They'll get really, really mad. They'll call me Satan, and they already have. So the Roman Catholics have called the pagans Satan. And they took the pagan god Faunus and Pan, that's the same fertility figure. They took that and made and labeled it Satan, devil, evil, from evil. And evil, again, I talked about this before. Evil means away from, the village. Just means someone who is walking away from the village. Someone walking away from the community. The Roman Catholics imposed that their village onto another village, on the pagan village. And they didn't go by what the pagan village decided to do. They just said, you are pagan, you are devil, you are evil, okay, you are outside of our village, and we're imposing our village on your village, okay. All of this that's typical, that's crusading, that is tyranny, that is enslavement, plundering, that is an invasion, okay, and it is unethical what they have done. And then people, they don't see the history of this. They just go by what their ancestors have accepted. So the next generation just accepted that Roman Catholic invading belief, okay, and they abandoned their own grandparents' beliefs, and amazing research that has gone into observing the star constellations and what an effect that had on the food plants and so on. It was Helena Petrovna Blavatsky and people like Rudolf Steiner and the Theosophical Society and Anthroposophy, those societies that have brought the pagan wisdom back into the present moment. But I don't know, so many of their books have been burned. This is a tragedy. Horrific. What an imposition, and what an inquisition that was going on. Okay, we need to learn from this. Let's not allow this to happen again. When there's wisdom in the world, when there's peace, when something works well, when we are understanding the importance of gravity from the moon, the gravitational force, that it has on the oceans, on the tides, the star constellation, it still has a gravitational force. There's a shift in gravitational force happening. And that has an effect on how the plants are growing, okay? And when people discover something like this that needs to be embraced with open arms, okay, we need to be infinitely grateful for wisdom like this, and not bulldoze them or burn their books. Okay, very, very important. I'm not saying the pagans were perfect. They had their own imperfections, as the whole human species has their imperfections, of course. There's always something to improve. So let's make it better. Let's not bring paganism back, but use what works in paganism and make it better, okay? Use what works and don't use what doesn't work, okay? So that's what I'm trying to say. It's what Dr. Richard Scholz was always talking about. Stop what's making you sick and start what's making you well. Stop what's making you sick and start what's making you well. Very important information. Okay, I'm gonna leave it like this. Maybe I'll make another video tomorrow. Take care. Peace and love for all living beings.